Well, howdy there. Thanks for stopping by. I'm here to tell you a story. A story about love. Love of family. Love of nature. Love of a graphically sexual nature. And it all starts where my marriage ended. With a murder.
9 billion names of pod.
From Atlanta, smack dab in the heart of America, it's the 9 Billion Names of Pod with Dan Bauman and Michael Reed. I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm doing phrasing. I was born doing phrasing.
So, let's talk about some stuff. Yes, let's do it. So this is the actual episode 100.
Did you lose it in your seat cushions there on the couch?
Yeah. We kind of jumped a little bit, but for a very good reason, because we wanted to do something special, and we asked my good friend Amber Nash from Archer and Frisky Dingo and all kinds of stuff.
And the Heart of America.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm excited to be 100th episode. That's an honor, guys.
Yes, thank you so much for doing it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So, how are you?
I'm good.
Congratulations. Archers got picked up for 2?
Three. Yes.
3.
But the only downside is that there are only 8 episodes. So it's, 2 seasons is like just a little bit longer than a previous season, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I think it's because Adam is like, he's got a plan in mind about what's going to happen. And I think 8 episodes is what's going to make it work for him. I think he's also tired of writing because he's the only one that writes the show. Oh, God. Right.
It's not the 70-30 like on Frisky Dingo?
No, he's a one-man writing machine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I love the fact and the way that the last couple seasons have gone where he's flipped the genres back and forth. And I think the arc on this season was my favorite. It was so goddamn fun.
And everybody was really concerned because FX didn't announce if we were getting more seasons, and Archer was dead at the end. And so everybody's just like, what's happening? And I think that might have been like a clever out, just in case.
Just in case.
Right.
Sometimes in television, like, we don't have a renewal yet. We could either leave it on a cliffhanger or
Right.
kind of end it, but maybe.
And I'm a really big fan of the show Castle, which I think a lot of people weren't fans of. It didn't get a lot of love, but it was one of my favorites.
Watched every episode.
Wasn't it great? And then when they ended, it was such a man,
really?
what a disappointment. Yeah.
It's like they took everything and like in the last half hour, like, all right, and then this happens, and then they're happy. And that's it.
And I was really bummed.
I really would have liked them to be bleeding to death on the floor and go out there.
Yeah,
Seriously.
right? Totally.
Spoiler alert, everybody.
Totally.
So I was thinking about it. I think the first time you and I ever spoke, you were dressed as Ebenezer Scrooge.
That's probably very true.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things that we're actually recording at Dad's Garage, which we mentioned quite a lot on the show, where Amber and I met, and we both have done a lot of work. You way considerably more than mine.
For those outside of Atlanta who don't know, Upright Citizens Brigade is New York. Chicago has Second City. Groundlings I think they're in LA. and New York. Am I mistaken?
But they're
about that?
originally LA for sure.
Right. Atlanta has Dad's Garage.
Right.
That's
so
right.
That puts it on par with, be looking for some talented people to step on the national scene after Amber and I guess Lucky as well.
Yeah, Lucky too.
Yeah, Lucky, Dr.
Totally.
Krieger himself.
Yeah.
And
God, him and his holograms.
and it's just funny. I remember.
Was that your first show that you did?
I think it was. I think it was
Okay.
I think I did like 1 or 2 of the Top Shelf shows.
All right.
And I think that was the first main stage.
Okay,
show
that was
I
like
did.
2006?
Yeah, something like
Maybe,
that.
yeah.
So it's
A long
been a
time
while.
ago.
And I just remember talking to Jamie Ward, the technical director here, talking about when they were pitching that show, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, we're going to do an improvised version of Invasion of Christmas Carol, and who are we going to play Scrooge? Nash." It wasn't even a question.
It was such an honor. Like, it was literally my favorite show that I've ever done. It was
Really?
my favorite role that I've ever played. Was getting to be Ebenezer Scrooge.
Well, as the narrator in Heart of America, you got quite a striking figure there.
I really love playing old men. It's my favorite thing to do. And so much so that people that improvise with me are like, Amber, you gotta just put the old men away for a little while.
Well, you did it very well for apparently a shaved down Bigfoot. I mean, that's the that's
Wait, what do you mean?
at the end of Heart of America,
Right.
The Bigfoot was me.
Oh, right. Oh, my God. I totally even forgot that happened. Thank you for reminding me how it ended. Right. I forgot.
That thing you wrote.
I didn't actually write it. Kevin wrote it. Kevin and Arlen wrote it.
Right.
And for a while, they were going, I wonder who's in the suit. Oh, it's got to be Kevin.
Yeah.
And I finally looked it up and went, yep, there's Kevin.
Yeah, we couldn't have asked anybody else to do it. Like, it was September in Atlanta.
Well, I was we were at Dragon Con last year, and I ran into Chris Brown,
Right.
who does all the special effects and makeup and stuff for dads and for
Your Pretty Face is going to hell
and a bunch
in
of
production right now. He's been posting pictures and little clips from the set.
Yeah.
And I ran into him. I was like, "Oh, so what are you looking forward to this weekend at Dragon Con?" And he was like, he's like, "Well, I gotta go. I gotta leave. I gotta shoot tomorrow." I was like, "Oh, really? What are you shooting?" He goes, "We're shooting a thing for dads." He goes, "The only upside is I get to in the Georgia heat, I get to dress Kevin as Bigfoot." And I was like, "Yeah, there you go."
We were like, oh, God, we hope he doesn't die out here. It's
I
crazy.
can imagine, but that was Kevin and Arlen thing, right? Like,
Yep.
from their based on their scratch
Yep,
format.
from scratch,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know, we're talking about Heart of America, which is a 10-episode web series that you can find right on YouTube.
Right on YouTube.
You got it queued up. You can just start playing episode 1, and it'll just keep running all the way to the shocking end.
Yeah, and you can go to heartofamerica.com, too, and it's got, like, production stills, and it's HART.
Yes,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you play, I can't remember the first name of the
Grace Hart.
Grace Hart.
She's a real hard-ass cop.
The question I had about Heart of America is, did you guys write it just to torment Horgan?
You know what's funny is that Horgan and I have a very contentious relationship. We've known each other for years. We've worked together for a long time, and he drives me fucking crazy, and he knows it. We've toured together. Like, I think it really came to a head when we toured in Europe together, and we were together for 5 weeks nonstop. And you're in different countries, and you're traveling, and you're performing a lot, and you're teaching, and it's like pretty stressful. And we were just like, I was just like, God damn it, Horgan, you're driving me fucking crazy. And so people find it really funny when I get mad,
Right.
And so Kevin was like, we got to make Horgan the guy that pisses you off because you guys are just so good at it. So, yeah, I think it was, we specifically wrote it for Horgan to piss me off, and it worked out quite well.
Well, out of Heart of America comes one of the greatest lines I have ever heard in anything ever. Okay. I have it down here.
All right.
I'm doing it from memory, and I wrote it down here. Something along the lines of, "You're pissing me off so much that I'm going to cut off your balls, shove them so far down your throat that they'll reach your penis, and you'll have balls again." I mean, I had to pause it because I couldn't hear anything for the next 5 minutes because I was laughing so fucking much.
Yeah.
That was
The one that wrecked me that I tweeted you about was we got to move on for you and this pile of dogs here when talking about Bigfoot, Kevin.
And that kind of gets swallowed a little bit, and it's one of my favorite lines, too.
Just that's-
Pile of dogs.
I know that's so right up my
Yeah,
alley.
that's all Kevin and Arlen. They have such a great, together they have a different sense of humor than either one of them have individually, and stuff like that happens when they write.
And when you discover Bigfoot, it almost is in like a Julie Andrews British accent, like Bigfoot. And Perry's was it? Let's do some pills. So yeah, there's just insane moments in just about every episode. But there's is there going to be another?
We hope. We were just at Series Fest in Denver, which was a really amazing pilot competition festival kind of TV thing. They want it to be like the Sundance of TV. And we got in out of I feel like they said there was something like 700 submissions and only 34 got in. So we got in, which was really cool. So we cut down the 10 to a 22-minute pilot. So it's about the first 5 episodes, but trimmed some. We had to trim some of the stuff out. So yeah, we just got back from that. We're shopping it around. We've got a manager. We're trying to hopefully get somebody to give us money to make another season. And this is the crazy thing to wrap your heads around. So in the first season, it's 3 different storylines that kind of start to intermingle towards the end. Right. So the second season would be 3 totally different storylines, again, that start to intermingle towards the end. The third season would be 3 brand new storylines. So that would be 9 different storylines. And then the fourth season would be all 9 of them together. Isn't that crazy? So I hope to God we get more money to make more. Because
We
it'd be
talk
amazing.
on this show all the time about how things are arced. That is some serious arcing.
Yeah.
That's some Stephen Moffat.
That's
shit
coming
right
close
there.
to like the 5-year plan.
Yeah, we're gonna lay something here and pay it off 4 years
Right,
later.
exactly.
down
Yeah.
the road.
Well, as long as Grace Hart going to be, or is it going to be completely new? There will be no.
I think, well, Grace would have to come back in the 9 storylines. But,
Right.
like, Grandma's dead, right? Because she was dying towards the end, right? And
she had everything.
She had everything.
right.
What are you, first thing I thought, you have Ebola? You have it? Yeah.
the pamphlet. You're fucked.
So,
That's
yeah,
all it's.
Grace might be the only one that's still alive from the first season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Well, they're a family now. Her and
Yep.
Perry and
Yeah, and
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. So is that blowjob still on the table? I'm like, no, not that we're a family. No, I don't think so. So, you got started at Dad's in, was it 2006?
No, that's when I became an ensemble member. I've been at Dad's since 99.
Ooh.
Yeah, I started, maybe it was 90, let's see. Maybe it was 98. So it was right after they started. The theater started in 96, 95 or 96, I think.
Right.
And I was in college at the time, and I was doing stuff with Laughing Matters, which is like now kind of the corporate improv of Atlanta that Tommy Futch started. And I found Dad's through their sketch show they were doing at the time called Free Parking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking classes at Dad's and still stay with Laughing Matters. I'm still with Laughing Matters today. But yeah, that was a long time ago. And so I just took classes and I cleaned toilets and I bartended until they finally put me on stage, which was like 5 years later. So I stuck around for a long
Damn,
time.
dues paid.
It's true.
Well, that's kind of how it works here. I mean,
Yeah.
they do. It is kind of a meritocracy where you people come into the classes and kind of work their way up.
Yeah, and
onto
back
the-
then there was only 2 levels of classes, and Chris Blair taught both of them, and I don't think there was any difference between level 1 and level 2. It was crazy back then. It was definitely the Wild West, and people just stuck around, and then a lot of people dropped off, and so it was like whoever can stick around the longest.
I think that's the key. Anyone can be enthusiastic about something for like a year,
Right.
and then if they're not getting what they want, then they go out
and
of
whoever those guys don't run off. you
Right,
know, 'cause
exactly.
It was a tough group to crack into. I
For
mean,
sure.
I kind of slid in sideways just as a tech position. I actually slid in doing music because the first thing I did was the stage
Reefer?
reading of Reefer Madness.
Wow.
That was the first thing I did by chance,
Right.
Because Jen Lowe knew Kate Warner through
Right.
doing Beehive, and she was like, "Oh, get your band and we'll do Reefer Madness."
Right.
And so we did that, and then we did. Then Kate called me a little while later to do the full run
Right.
as the bass player, and the
Right.
whole
Oh my
time of that production, I just kept bugging her and Jamie Ward. I do sound design too. I'm a sound designer. I do that too. And finally, they just were like,
and
"I'm
now you're
fine."
like the only person that does sound design for us. You
Like,
got
"Hey,
what
Dad,
you
want a
wanted.
beer?" Yeah, I'd like a beer and do sound design.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things I saw at Dad's was either
No, it was probably Debbie Does Dallas.
Was that before
That
Reefer
was before
Madness?
Reefer Madness,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
'cause-
that was
because Christy Craig
Christy
was,
Craig did
Wow.
played Debbie.
It's old school, guys.
Yeah,
yeah.
been around for a while, and so, but even like coming in as a designer and stuff, it was a weird vibe. It's hard
Yeah.
to get kind of in. And,
For sure.
It's the same, but it's different now. It's like it seems like there's a lot more people coming
Yeah.
in, and it's more of a thing, especially
Yeah.
in the new facility.
Well,
Totally,
yeah, the
there's
new
more.
home campaign made
Yeah.
everyone here that was already here realize, wow, you like us. You
Yeah.
really, really like us.
There's a lot more people than there used to be. And like when I first started, there had only been one female ensemble member, and that was
was who?
Kendra.
Kendra, I don't know.
She might have been gone by the
Yeah.
time you came around, and then she left, and then I think it took 3 years for me to get into the ensemble. So I was the second female ensemble member, which was like totally unacceptable. But luckily now we've got 4. Now we've got 4, I think, maybe 5. Wait, it's me and Megan and Karen and Tara just got
Tara
put,
Oakes, yeah.
and so I guess it's just 4 of us. But yeah, so it's way better than it used to be, and we have so many women like in our Genco and younger
Karen
performers.
and
Yep.
Perry
Yep.
and
And Perry's
Kurt.
in the ensemble too. So
Is
that
she?
is 5.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When she's not on pills.
Right.
That's the thing. That's my favorite thing about this place is that, like, people will watch Heart of America and not realize how many, like, everybody's just people from around here.
Yeah.
In this building who
Totally.
go up and do amazing shows every weekend. Without even thinking about
Yeah.
it. And the level of guest stars you were able to,
Oh my
to
God.
slide in there. Colin Mockery and Fred Willard.
The
Come
day
on.
that we shot with Fred Willard, so we shot that way before we started production.
Yeah, because he came. Yeah, it was
It
way
was during
back.
Dads and Friends. Yeah, so it was in June, and we didn't start shooting until September. And we were on set, and we'd been up all night because it was, the weekend was like packed full of shows. And so I kind of groggily get there Saturday morning, and we're shooting with Fred Willard. And I wasn't in the scene with them, but I was like, oh my God, this is like such a bucket list moment. I was like, I'm doing a project with Fred Willard. Like, I'm not actually working with him, but I'm getting my picture taken with him. And it was just like,
In the cast list on IMDb, it'll be you and him right on the list. No one needs to know.
Right? It was so exciting. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah,
like,
we came to one of the Seven Stages shows, one of the improv shows that he did, and just like the subtlest thing he would do was amazing.
Yeah.
I think I remember Lucky. I think it was Lucky, or I forget who did. Started a scene where it was like, "Well, doctor, I have this sexual problem," and he just went, "Oh, yeah." Just the subtlest, it just turned, and
He's so
funny.
pro. I just love him.
And of course, the patron saint of dads, Colin Mockery.
Yes, yeah. He's just one of us now. The coolest thing about Colin that I think people might not realize is that he is so down to like hang. Like he will go out with us at the yacht club after shows. He will like hang all night. Like he had one time he was here, he had a flight at like 5 a.m. the next morning, and he was with us at the yacht club until they turn the lights on, which is usually about 3.
Yeah.
He's just the awesomest dude. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And you've also got a kid in the hall.
Kevin McDonald.
Kevin McDonald.
you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got that.
And Tim Meadows and
Yeah.
the people that are
SNL,
rolling
so-
through here.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty awesome people.
We came to see Matt Jones, and the power went out.
Yes. So crazy.
We pulled up, and I was like, "Sign's not on." And we got out of the car, we walked up, and I think it was Ed and Riddlemeyer were standing out front, and I was like, "So?" Ed was like, "Nope."
Yep. And the funny thing is we also had guests from Norway here, and we had gotten like the tiniest amount of like flurries. I don't know if you remember that day.
Yeah, and everybody panicked.
And the people from Norway are like, literally, like, you guys got a little bit of rain and it knocked your power out.
This is shorts and t-shirt weather for us. What are you
Right.
talking about?
Yeah,
this is
totally.
nothing. Wow, that's Atlanta in a nutshell. You get a quarter of an inch of snow and everyone freaks the hell
Yeah,
out.
totally.
So what was your first like scripted show at Dad's?
I was an understudy for Tiffany Morgan in Carrie, the musical.
Right.
And I cannot sing, and I don't know how I got the part, and I was so terrified. And I was I was probably like 21, maybe 21 at that time. So it was like huge. It was my first like big thing that I ever did, and I was terrified, and I'm sure I did terribly. But that was the first thing I did, the first scripted thing. And then the first show I was actually cast in, gosh, I don't even remember what it was. It might have been like a Chicken Boozy, back when we used to do Chicken Boozy Christmas specials. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a period where I used Dads as a kind of a weeding out process for girls I would date.
That's great.
Because you take them to an improv show. And, of course, people who don't know go, ugh, improv.
Right.
Kind of like the Homestar Runner,
Right.
cartoons.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you're like, when improv is bad, it can be really bad.
so bad.
But not at Dad's. And if she was down with him, be like, okay, there's a little bit of cheer in her heart.
That's good.
We can work with this.
We recommend everyone do that that's dating.
Yes, exactly.
Bring them to Dad's.
So you are the voice of Pam.
I am the voice of Pam.
Pam Poovey on Archer. How'd you land that gig?
Oh man, it's such a great story because it's not. I didn't really try very hard, which is what makes it such a great story. Because
I love it when things fall into my
I
lap.
know, because I'm not a Hollywood type, right? So what happened was. It was way back. We talked about this before we started recording. I was the voice of Val on Frisky Dingo. So I actually got that role. That was Tiffany Morgan, was the first 2 episodes, I think. And then I don't know why, we don't talk about it. But then I started playing Val after that. So they had, the guys from 7030 at the time, now they're Floyd County. 7030, they made, before Frisky Dingo, they made C-Lab.
Yes, they did.
2021, and they're based in Atlanta. And back then, they had a shitty little house in East Atlanta where they would record all their stuff, and they would lock you in a closet. It was terrifying. And so it was just like this dirty old house in East Atlanta that had like 6 dirty dudes making cartoons in it for Adult Swim. And they just needed people that would show up, they could pay you under the table. You'd just be there in 10 minutes when they called you, and it was easy. And so they called me, and I was able to do that. And they were like, oh, okay, well, you're easy enough to work with. So they kept giving me jobs. So Frisky Dingo, I actually auditioned for it. And when they first came up with the idea, it was supposed to be like a family drama. Not drama, but like it was a mom and a dad and a teenager, 2 teenage kids.
Yeah, it was like Whiskey Tango.
Yes, yeah. And so I auditioned for the the teenage daughter, and they were like, "No, you don't sound like a teenager at all. You're never going to get this role." And then Linnea actually auditioned for it, and I think that they really liked her voice. And then the role changed, and it became Val. And the show is so weird. Like, you can't even explain what Frisky Dingo's about if you've never seen it.
I mean, I could do Simon. Just watch Frisky Dingo. It is literally one of the greatest.
It's so weird and wonderful.
And you also had another role in Frisky Dingo, another voice role.
I did. I had several, actually. Because back then, they would just hire one person to do a bunch of shit.
You got to I don't think she ever got a name, but the hooker.
Yes.
And
wait, was it the hooker or was it the crack whore? Because those are 2 different characters.
Oh, you know what? It is the crack whore because she's the one who got the kick pants.
Yes, yeah.
IMDb says hooker.
Right. Well, her name, she's got a name.
Does she?
And because she was in Archer 2 seasons, or this past season, or last season, she had a little cameo. And her name is, oh my God, you're going to have to look it up because she's definitely got a name. Because there was the hooker who had like a little bit of a New York accent, and then there was the crack whore who got the kick pants.
Just kick pants, man.
Her name's like Lorraine, or I always forget what it is, but she's definitely got a name.
So she just mumbles, rah, rah, rah,
yeah,
kick pants.
And that was based on a character that I came up with at Dad's, which was a homeless character named Dorothy. And they'd seen me do Dorothy here. She was the Scandal character, which is our improvised soap opera, and that's how I got that. They had me start doing that voice for the show. Yeah.
I'll tell you, the banter with the Exticles, that show should have spun off and gone for another 17
Well, you know, they made a spinoff.
They did 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then they stopped. So it's bonus on, I think, the season 2 Frisky Dingo DVD.
Adam Reed, went away on some Vision Quest, and then they kept making the show, and without Adam it didn't have legs. But the funny thing was they named a character after me in Exticles, and it was this supercomputer, and her name was Amber. And I read for the first episode AMBR, and they were like, the network doesn't like your voice, and I was like, you better fucking change the character's name. But they still kept the character's name, and I didn't get to play the role, and I was like, God, that's TV for you. So anyway, after I did Frisky Dingo, Adam went away, and it looked like they were going to kind of break up. 70-30 was going to kind of dissolve after Frisky Dingo got canceled. And Adam came back from a walk through Spain, some kind of pilgrimage, with the idea for Archer.
He went walkabout.
He did. And he pitched it around, and FX picked it up. And then they called me because I was doing some DVD extras for Frisky Dingo, and they were like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And they showed me Pam's head. It was the first time I'd ever seen it. But she was delivering one of Val's lines, so they wanted to see what the voice sounded like coming out of that character. And they're like, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah. But I had no idea what it was going to be. I didn't even know FX at the time yet. I guess they had just kind of started doing Always Sunny, was just kind of picking up steam at that time.
Yeah.
And that was their first big comedy.
And still going.
Yeah, still going. I know, 14 seasons or something.
It's in the teens, in the early teens.
So I just got given the job, which is crazy because I'm sure lots of people auditioned for all the other roles. And so it was a bunch of famous people, and then Amber Nash, who nobody knew.
But I can't imagine Pam having any other voice ever. I mean, it's
super fun. I got super lucky with that one.
What is your favorite Pam, I guess, saying?
You know, she's got so many, and there's so many really dirty ones, but one of my favorite ones is when she calls Cheryl neckbones. It's just so, simple and funny, and, it says so much about that relationship. Yeah. That's really my favorite.
My favorite from this season was you never forget a hoof to the tit, and you never forget killing your first mule.
Did you ever see the thing that Pam and Cyril did together, and it's like a EIEIO, I think it was a DVD extra. It might be on YouTube, but it's old Pam Poovey had a farm, and it's really, really fun. It's got to be online somewhere for people to see.
Oh, Pam Poovey had a farm.
It's really funny.
This is back when Cheryl was going to be a country star.
Yes,
tied
yeah.
into that?
Charlene,
Yeah,
Or is it
Charlene.
Charlene?
Charlene. That was the her country singer name.
Oh,
Yeah.
Charlene. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheryl Carroll.
Yeah.
yeah. Was it Tunt?
Tunt, yeah.
That's a last name fraught with. Wasn't there a seaboat captain? There was an inside joke about the seaboat captain that the Tunt yacht, and it was some. I remember going, that's a callback to Sea Lab or something. I keep expecting what is it? MC Chris,
Right.
to pop. God, his hash is just. It burns with the power
I
of
know.
shark. That is my favorite Sea Lab line.
Yeah, and Mr. Ford showed up. Do you remember Mr. Ford?
I do. I'm like, oh my God, there he is.
Do you know who Mr. Ford is?
Who?
Oh my God, this is the best thing. So that crappy house where they recorded in East Atlanta, Mr. Ford was their neighbor that lived across the street. And he was an older black gentleman, and whenever he would mow his lawn, he'd wear a batting helmet. So if any rocks flew up, he would protect his head. And so he was just this character.
sensible.
Yeah, just this character that lived in East Atlanta. And they were like, man, we got to invite this guy over to record some lines. So they just had him come over and fuck around. And then they got him on the microphone, and they're like, "This guy is brilliant. And his voice is just you can't make that up. That's what that guy sounds like."
Right.
And so they just kept recording with him, and then he ended up in Archer.
Now, I heard Lucky on a podcast, and he said basically you got him the Krieger gig.
I did.
Like Krieger wasn't supposed to talk. You can kind of see it in the first couple episodes where he's just there. He was there.
Yeah, I think for the first 4 or 5, maybe half of the first season, he doesn't talk at all.
Yeah.
And so they were like, I was recording one day, and they're like, well, who do you think? If we gave this guy a voice, who should it be? And I was like, well, I don't know, Lucky. And then the next thing you know, Lucky's got a job on Archer.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I could have said anybody's name.
The power you wield. So how long was it before you got to meet everybody else?
It had been, let's see, we recorded all of season 1, and we were promoting season 2 at Comic-Con. And
That must have just freaked you
oh my
out.
God, it was crazy. The first time I met John Benjamin, I was just like, holy shit. But I honestly didn't quite know how famous everybody was. Like, I didn't know who Aisha was. And then I met her, and she was like this 10-foot tall angel, like in a white suit. Like, literally, she was wearing a white suit. And I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? Very intimidated. But yeah, so it was season 2. We'd already made all of season 2 before I met everybody.
Oh.
And Chris Parnell was the nicest man, because I was like just thrown into this situation. There's all these things happening and people ushering you around, and you're going to these panels and all this stuff. And I was backstage. We were actually at the Paley Center, and I was backstage with Chris Parnell, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And he goes, nobody does. And that has served me so well over the years, because literally nobody does know what's going on.
Did you get a chance to actually look around the Paley Center?
I didn't. We were kind of in and out, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, they basically, if you want to see an old episode of
Anything.
and the rights are tied up, you just request it, and they will put it on a little TV in a kiosk for you, and you watch
So
it
cool.
there.
God, you could just spend all day there.
Oh, I did.
Oh my God.
I mean, I grew up in San Diego, but I didn't know the Paley Center until I'd moved out to Atlanta. So one trip I went back to California, and I blocked out a day.
Wow.
And I had been emailing back and forth. Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have this? And I got my queue together, and I went, here's what I want to watch. You just opened, and I have just enough show to watch everything until you close. And
That's
I have about
amazing.
3 seconds for a bathroom break, and that's it. And I watched
Wow.
old PBS stuff from the 70s and commercials that that you can't find anywhere.
And now they do the Paley Fest. So and at least they're putting them up on Hulu or Netflix or something, where they gather the
Classic
casts of
cast.
shows, and even current shows too,
Yeah.
and they do Q&As and stuff, and it's super great.
It's great.
Here's everyone that's left alive from MASH, or we're going to have an evening of MASH.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Hey, that's going to be you guys in 20 years. Like,
Right.
And here's the voice people from Archer.
And you guys did live episodes, right?
We did Archer live for a couple years, and it was a little ill-fated. Like, the production company, being somebody that comes from theater and comes from doing live shows, I know how live shows are supposed to go, and people that make television don't know how live shows are supposed to go. And so the production company that was putting on these live shows did a lot of big shows, so they knew what they were doing. Their sound people knew what they were doing, but the people kind of putting together what Archer Live was going to be didn't really quite have a handle on it. So it was kind of just crazy, and we never got it right, but people loved it. Like, people loved coming out to see it. One of the greatest things ever was another bucket list thing, is that I got to perform at the Ryman Auditorium. And it was just like, holy shit, why do I get to do this? And it's so amazing that I do. And the cool thing is that they have the same poster maker for every single show that's ever been there. So it's one person. It's that iconic Ryman Auditorium poster look. So every show that comes through there gets a poster made by their poster maker. So there's an Archer Live poster that I got framed. That's like so amazing, so cool. But anyway, yeah. So I got to do some pretty cool things doing that, and it might be coming back, the Archer Live, but with new production and hopefully Lucky and I have kind of gotten in there and been like, hey guys, we kind of know how live shows work, so let us help you out. So we'll see what happens.
Do it. Well, the audience would probably be way too large for dads here, but you can do a couple of shows, pack people in at dads.
We did.
Do like a co-pro.
We did one in Atlanta, and I think it was at Kevin and I were actually out of the country, so we couldn't go to it. But I think it was at the Tabernacle, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a little bit larger than Dad's.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You do 2 shows here, you can get the numbers up.
Right.
Now, did the live thing throw any of the other actors?
No, because everybody's pretty solid, and most of the people on the show do live performance, like Aisha and John.
Oh yeah, well she's been a stand-up forever.
Right. Yeah, but all of them. And Chris was a sketch guy.
Yeah.
Well,
and he started in theater.
Yeah, this
right.
is second nature to him.
Yeah, and maybe the only person that hasn't done a ton of live performance would be Judy. But she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She'll do anything for anybody.
She's amazing
yeah.
in just about everything.
Yeah, she's great.
I remember the episode of Aisha's podcast that you guys
Yeah.
did in her hotel room.
Yeah.
And it was just bizarre because I think you guys were drinking and she like left halfway through and came back.
to go get like her hair done.
Yeah.
That was at the very beginning too. I didn't know
was
those
at
guys
Comic-Con,
very
I
well.
think,
Yeah. Oh man, crazy.
What's it like working with John Benjamin?
He is the biggest smartass I've ever met. Like when he first met me, was at Comic-Con that first time I went, and he was talking about how they must have flown me in on coach. And he didn't even know me. He was just being such a dick. And I was like, "You are wonderful, I think." But once I got to know him, he's like a big brother that just constantly fucks with you. He's so wonderful. He's a really cool guy. But my favorite person's Chris Parnell. He's genuinely the nicest man I've ever met.
And he's in everything.
He
I
is.
mean, literally.
His voice, particularly.
Oh yeah, he's in every commercial and
Yep.
like half a dozen movies all at the same time. He's getting work.
Yeah.
Is it weird doing because I'm assuming you record by yourself
Yeah.
here in Atlanta. Is
Yeah.
it weird doing that? Is it hard to...
It's the only way I've ever known, so it's not weird for me. I think for some people, like Jessica, who's worked on a lot of other stuff, she wasn't used to doing that. And John, when they do Bob's Burgers, they're all in the room together, which sounds like a lot more fun, but it's a lot more expensive and it takes a lot more time.
Yeah. Well, with the kids and stuff, I think it benefits from being in the same room.
Yeah, because they're doing a lot of improv, actually, which
Yeah.
we don't really have the benefit of doing.
Eugene Merman probably have
Oh,
hours of
Kristen Shaw,
outtakes
yeah,
of
yeah.
things that Gene says, like, we'll use that, the 22nd one, that's the best one. We'll use that one.
Right. Yeah, so we hopefully one day, I hope if we get to like 100 episodes, we'll do one together, recording it all in one room, which would be awesome.
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, but when I go in, I usually just read all my lines 3 times each, and if they need something a little different, they'll tell me or they'll read me in, and that's it. So I'm usually in there, especially like if it's not a particularly Pam-heavy episode, I'll be in the recording booth for like 30 minutes every other week. For half of the year. Like, I've got the best job ever.
So you don't voice an entire season in one shot. You kind of space
because
it.
they write them as they go, and then they animate them after we record them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so apparently, I think kind of the way that it works generally in television is they record before they animate, but when you see people like doing their voices with the animation, that's usually in film, I guess. So in film, they usually animate and then record. But I don't know if that's just across the board. Yeah.
A little behind the scenes magic.
Yeah.
See, I love that stuff. I mean, I'm a total voiceover nerd, stalking like Rob Paulson and Billy West.
Yeah. Rob Paulson is another guy that I met that's really cool.
Yeah, we were at the panel you guys
Oh,
did
and he
with-
knows his stuff, man. He's done everything.
His name is Rob Paulson.
Yeah. I mean, Yakko and Pinky and just...
It's crazy.
He's one of the giants.
And
man.
he is on the road, man. He is going to every con. Like, I've been at some, like, really tiny little shitty weird cons, and there's Rob Paulson at the hotel hotel bar, and I'm like, dude, you're everywhere.
It's like every attendant could fit in the lobby, and there he is, showing up.
My Rob Paulson story is that year he was the first year he was at Dragon Con. I was like, okay, he's one of the gets. I got to go. And I walked up and I was like, hey, I'm just a huge fan. I'm a musician. Here's CDs from my band, and it's just a pleasure, and picture, and did the whole thing. Dragon Con, which is 60,000 people, goes on 5 days. Monday, we're doing our last tour around the autograph room, and I was like, let's swing by Rob, just say goodbye. And we're walking up to the table, and he was saying goodbye to somebody. He was like, hey, thanks for those CDs. Those are really nice of you. And I was like,
oh my God,
you remember
that's
that
amazing,
from,
right?
50,000 people.
That's so awesome. He's a really solid dude.
Mm-hmm.
Well, come on, giving him gifts, tall, goatee, bald head,
Yes.
You're a memorable guy.
And then him and Maurice LaMarche doing Filthy Pinky in the Brain at Dragon Con.
Oh my God, it's so great. And so many people, when I sit on panels with other voice actors, I'm always like, yeah, I've done one voice on this show. And people, most voice actors, especially the people that have been around for a while, have 300 credits to their name.
Oh, yeah.
Of all ranging different stuff. It's amazing how talented they are.
Dana Snyder is the John Benjamin of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because he's been in at least half a dozen Adult Swim shows.
Yeah.
If not as a regular, like Master Shake, dropping in as a voice here and there. And I did the same thing he did. Did the swing around, and there's Dana just sitting at the table. It was Con's wrapping up, and I went over there and chatted with him for about 10, 15 minutes. Yes, all the Mole Men. It's canceled. I'm like, okay. Well.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Now, were you a big into voiceover, or
I wasn't, and I kind of just fell into it. I think Mike Schatz is the first one that gave me a job actually doing voice work. It's because I was just an improviser, and then I decided to quit my real job, which was as a counselor for troubled teens, and try to be a improviser full time, which nobody does because that's not a thing really. But I was lucky enough, and I got a job being as the education director at Dad's, and so then I kind of started gigging as an actor. And same thing, Mike Schatz, who is an improviser here at Dad's, he's also a bunch of voices. He's the voice of the Braves.
Yeah.
He was the voice of
Gas
Moe's for a while. Gas South, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He needed somebody again that would show up in 10 minutes, and he could pay me under the table, and I'd not cause a problem. And so he gave me a bunch of jobs doing radio spots, and that's how I started. Nice. And he gave me the best advice I ever got doing voice work, is because I would stand behind the microphone with my arms beside my to my side and just not move at all like a zombie. And he's like, you can hear that in your voice, so move around in the booth. And so I became more animated, and it changed everything. Yeah.
Now, I happen to know that story because you are also a playwright.
That's right.
That's what you got to do. Was it last year, or was it the year before?
It was 2 years ago. It was 2014.
You wrote a show called What's Wrong With You?
Yep.
And how did that come about? I mean, is that kind of a precursor to Heart of America? Or?
No, actually, it was kind of I've done a bunch of improv, I've done a bunch of stage shows and scripted shows at Dad's, and the idea of doing a solo show was terrifying to me. So I was like, well, I guess I got to do it.
Yeah.
and it was terrifying every single night that I did that show. I thought I was going to have a heart attack every night. And then I went up to Edmonton with Kevin and did it at the Edmonton Fringe, and it was a little easier, but it was because I didn't know everybody. Because in Atlanta, I was at home, and anybody I knew could walk in, But yeah, it's really scary. It's the same reason why I would never do stand up. Is it's just I can't imagine.
Well, at least you didn't write about your entire life.
Right.
Oh, wait. Yeah, you did. That's the entire thing was about. Yeah.
And I think if it had been a solo show that somebody else had written that wasn't personal, it might have been a little bit easier. But I think the scariest thing is just oh my God, what if my brain stops working and I'm here by myself and I don't remember anything that I'm supposed to be saying and all these people are looking at me?
Well, the thing about that is that's one of my favorite. I mean, I do a lot of theater around town, and my favorite tech rehearsals are here at Dad's because everybody's an improviser. Nothing throws anyone.
Right.
And sometimes the tech rehearsals end up being funnier than the show.
Right.
Because,
because people are bored with the lines, so they start fucking around.
Right. During rehearsal when it's just us and the crew
right.
just screwing around.
Yeah.
And so I think you'd have been all right.
I get that. One night, actually, it was the night that Kurt Holman came to review the show. And it was in the top shelf at Seven Stages, the little black box
little
there.
Black box.
And we had a big storm. It was in the summertime. and it knocked all the power out for 10 minutes. So I was standing on stage in my old lady character, my Southern lady character, for 10 minutes.
Oh, no.
Looking at the audience, and Renee Jameson, God bless her, she was up in the booth just like talking to me as that character and just kind of keeping me updated with what was going on. It was crazy.
And that's where the improv skills come in.
That's right.
So all of a sudden you got a scripted show and improv. Go. So what is in the future for you? Obviously, you're picked up for another 3 seasons of Archer. You're going to continue to ask for Frisky Dingo to come back like you have been.
Yes.
I mean, kick pants forever.
Yeah.
I mean, there's actually 2 of my favorite little Facebook pages. One is Kick Pants. Just Kick Pants.
That's awesome.
And the other one is Master Cylinder. Seriously, I love me some Frisky Dingo.
I have to check it out.
When I found out that you were in Frisky Dingo as Valor, I was like, this is going to be good. Because you were there at the genesis of such a wonderful thing.
That's awesome.
I still keep. There was some promo stuff they did on the web when the series launched that had the Frisky Dingo for lack of I don't think we ever got a name out of him. He was just Killface.
Oh yeah,
Killface.
Killface. Yeah.
But that's it. Keep eating your McDonald's nuggets, fatty, and just little drop-ins that you can just drop in anywhere. And I've saved them all these years because
great.
They're great to like drop into audio stuff. Like, what the fuck is that?
Reasons I Want to Destroy the World by Killface, number 11, Fatties and the Unkempt. This is mostly for you Americans, because you, frankly, are a nation of big, chubby Augustus Gloops, and you are slurped up in that tube that makes gorditas. The gordita tube is what you're stuck in, and you're just mewling about saying, oh, more gorditas, I'm not full yet. Guess what? You are full. You big fat bastards. Listen, do some push-aways. You don't have to eat all the potatoes. In fact, potatoes have a very high glycemic index. You should be eating yams. If you just craving starches like I'm sure you do. Fatties. Kurt Cobain is dead.
My favorite was it was the first moment that I was like, oh, this is something kind of big. Was that one billboard that's outside of Whole Foods that always has Adult Swim stuff on it? And this was way back. I mean, God, this was like 2008, 2009. And it had a huge kill face on it. And I was like, oh my God, the show I'm on has a billboard on ponds.
Now you've made it.
All right? Totally.
Now you've arrived.
Totally.
So what is in the future for you?
I don't know. I'm always, same as any other actor. I'm always auditioning and looking for new opportunities. And I've started writing more, and just kind of getting my stuff out there. And hopefully, we're gonna get more money to do more Heart of America stuff. And
you need to.
just keep trucking.
What was the outcome of the for lack of a better term, the Sundance for TV shows? So you went there, it screened, it got a good response?
Yeah, we definitely realized that our show was different. And a lot of people had because we made a web series and then we cut it to a pilot. But most people had just made pilots. And so it was definitely out of the norm. But people enjoyed it. It was really, really fun. I didn't win any awards. The show didn't win any awards. But that's okay, because just getting in is huge out of so many submissions. So we had a really fun time.
The exposure.
Yeah.
I would be really interested to see what people who don't come to dads and don't know all these people think of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just sitting there going, Clint Perry. Mark Meir.
Like in the second screening that we had, there was a group of people in the back, because Kevin and I watched both times, and just to hear people responding, and you're like, those are our people that are really digging this, because it's very specific, not everybody's going to love it, which I think is good comedy. Good comedy is not something that everybody loves, because then you're going to be doing the Big Bang Theory. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be a little bit.
It has its clever moments, but it definitely, I don't want to say lowest common denominator, but it kind of is.
Right.
Which is basically what American sitcoms and network comedy is, broadcast network comedy is. It's kind of like, We got to reach 10 million in our demo just to stay on the air.
Totally.
Yeah, we're always saying that our favorite dynamic is the British dynamic.
Yep.
Where we're going to make 10, and then maybe we'll make 10 more.
Yep.
And I think that's what you were saying about the 8-episode
Yep.
arcs of Archer.
And when it's time to be done, they're done.
Yeah.
Yep.
They just walk.
You can do an in, you
unless
can do
it's
an out.
absolutely fabulous, then they just keep coming back, and coming back, and coming back.
Another 12 Doctor Who, but not yet.
Well, Doctor Who's a different story.
Yeah.
It's Ab Family, the final episode, and 3 years later,
Now it's a
I
movie.
got an itch, so I'm going to do another one.
And they're doing a movie, right?
Movie. It's coming out next month.
Really?
God.
Where Patsy is the actress who plays Patsy is like in her 70s now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Joanna Lumley, yeah.
Joanna Lumley. Well, she was a Bond girl in the 60s.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
right.
That's
So,
amazing.
It's a thing. Where was the TV Sundance? What town was it in?
It was called Series Fest, and it was
Series
in
Fest.
Denver, Colorado. And it was only its second year, and it was quite fun.
I don't think they have Comcast out there, because another one of my favorite lines is, Comcast, I'm gonna fuck you over and over again, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just sub in like Time Warner for
Right.
the East Coast or Cox Cable for the
Right,
West
right.
Coast.
Yeah, and the gag of you as the grandmother getting back into the RV
Oh, man.
for 3 minutes
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny to watch that in front of a full audience, right? Because you're like, it takes a while for people to start laughing because they're like, oh, okay, this is just going on way too long.
You roll it around till it's not funny anymore, and then you keep going till it's funny
Yeah.
again. And
Oh,
you
see,
keep
that's
going
my
till it's
my
really
favorite.
funny.
You're
Yeah.
sitting there going, all right, enough. Okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, you got me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like on Family Guy where the hits his leg and he goes, for like 90 seconds. I'm like, sir, you're a little short on this episode, huh? You just need to pad it. I see it. And make the chicken fight an extra, 2 minutes longer.
5 minutes is a long time, and a 5-minute fight between Peter and a chicken is...
Well, that's what I look forward to. The 3 things I look forward to in every season of Family Guy is the on the road takeoff, with the musical numbers with Stewie and Brian, the hitting the leg or injuring yourself and going ow for like 2 minutes, and then of course out of nowhere, literally nowhere, chicken fight. Just you think the story's going one way, and all of a sudden the chicken shows up and it's on for like
Right.
the next 10 minutes of such destruction. If they were to film it in real life, Michael Bay would be like, I can't do it. I just can't.
We still need to do... We had the idea of doing that for the Dragon Con parade, just chicken suit, Peter, and just beat the hell out
That
of each
is
other,
hilarious.
rolling around.
Just like during the parade,
Yeah.
like all of a sudden we see each other across the thing, and we just take a
Nerf
run
that
at
and
each
just-
other.
yeah, and
and
just-
You
just
guys have
beat-
got to
beat the
do
fuck
that.
out of- The thing is that chicken outfits are, I'm guessing, expensive unless you to make them really good. And that probably would not come back in rentable condition.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the deposit, huh?
Because
we
you're
can
probably going to
afford-
get pretty sweaty at that, too, in September in Atlanta.
Why can't they move it to like December?
I know, right?
Yeah, it's brutal.
So what shows would you ever like? What's your dream show to be on?
Oh, my God. For a while, there was a little bit of a rumor that the Flintstones was going to be remade. And I was...
Seth MacFarlane was supposed to do it.
Yeah, but Seth MacFarlane kind of is notorious for only casting the people that he casts and nobody else. Right. But I heard about this and I was like, I'm going to do everything within my power to get a role on the Flintstones. And so I called all my agents, because I have Atlanta agents and I have an agent in LA too, and they were like, we'll do what we can to find out. And then nothing ever came of it because the project was going forward, and then I don't know, something just fell apart and wasn't happening anymore.
Well, his magic touch kind of dimmed a little bit when American Dad got canceled. Now it's picked up by TBS,
right?
And it's supposed to be twice as edgy. And I've continued to watch, and
yeah,
I mean, Heart of America is edgier than any episode of American Dad, but that's okay. But he did Cosmos, so bless Seth MacFarlane.
He gets a pass.
He did, oh yeah.
So thank you so much for doing this. This is actually our 100th episode, which we put out after our 101st episode because of scheduling, but it's still pretty cool.
Such an honor. And to honor the 100th episode, I have some information that I'm only sharing on this podcast. I got permission to let you guys know exclusively that when we come back for season 8 of Archer, and everybody presumes that Sterling Archer is dead. In fact, he's...
Medication time. Medication time.
Oh, Amber, hey, sorry, we ran out of time. You'll have to tell us some other time.
The 9 Billion Names of Pod was conceived, written, and performed by Michael Reed and Dan Bauman, with Abdul Beni Hassan as the sound of splintering wood. Research, transportation, and exasperated looks by Courtney Lohner. Technical assistance by Cubase, Pro Tools, Skynet, QLab, Deep Thought, Big Brother, and Eddie, your shipboard computer. Financial consideration provided by the Wayne Foundation, Stark Industries, the Piranha Brothers, and LexCorp. Legal counsel by the offices of Howard and Fine. If you do that again, I will crawl inside you with my shoes on. Our intro music was written by Tim Akers. This podcast was sponsored by Deep Shag Records and is a production of Audio Primate. Throw us a couple stars on iTunes, why don't you? Check us out on dadsgarageradio.net. Listen, watch on YouTube. Listen on SoundCloud. Stream us on Stitcher. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Or email us, comlink@billionpod.com. Until this happens again, I'm Dan Bauman.
I'm Amber Nash.
I'm Michael Reed.
LOZ!
Audio Primate.